What's good, everybody? You already know who it is, man. It's your boy Jerry Fit, and we are back to react with what's new on the tube. And today, man, we kind of got a special little video going on. Like I told you guys, I want to be diverse with my reactions and look for things that actually interest me, so I can bring you guys some authentic reactions. But I've been kind of focused, or not focused, but like really only reacting to like body cam stuff, like murder mysteries, body cams, like conspiracy stuff. So I thought I'd switch it up today. I found a video on somebody who's been kind of trending. I mean, he was just on Kai's stream. But I've been listening to him since I was a kid, man. And I know a lot of you guys can't say that, but I'm serious. Like, I'm growing up Haitian, like, all the Caribbean music your parents played in the car, man. You just grow up on that. That's all they play, like, when we're going to the parties or whatever. That's all they play. So, right now, today, we got the Vybz Kartel from King of the Dancehall to life in prison. His case explained. So I know he just got out of prison. He did, I think, 13 or 14 years. And I know, like, what the case was, like, about. Like, it was, like, him, like, beating a murder case. But I don't know, like, the specific details at all. So I figured, I saw this on my YouTube feed. I thought it'd be a good video to react to. So we're just going to jump into it, man. And if you guys like these kinds of videos, we'll try to bring more of them to you. But, yeah, for right now, we're just going to jump in. Let's see what it's got to say.
At the peak of his career, Adidja Azim Palmer, otherwise known as Vybz Kartel, was known as
Big
the
up,
king
big
of
up, big
dancehall.
up.
However, just as he was on the verge of an opportunity so big it would change his legacy forever, he was hit with the biggest surprise of his entire life and sentenced to life in prison. How did a random DJ from Portmore become arguably the most influential man in Jamaica? Adi Daddy, free up, boss. And more importantly, is he innocent or guilty of his crimes? Well, to answer these questions, we have to go all the way back to 2008, when Vybz Kartel would have the biggest beef of his entire career. That got so big and caused so much violence in real life that the literal Jamaican government and Prime Minister had to step in and intervene. The feud that was known as the Golden Gaza War was between Vybz Kartel and another artist that was rising so quickly in the game, he had people wondering if he was about to take Vybz Kartel's position. This man's name was Mavado. Mavado started out in the background of the music industry, writing songs for other artists and taking other behind-the-scenes roles. But all of that would change when he decided to drop his first ever single in 2005, and it became an instant hit. Ever since then, every song that he has ever dropped had made him more and more popular, and the people took to him so much.
I don't know much about this guy. I feel like I probably heard some of his songs, but I don't know much about him.
To make matters worse,
I like dancehall, man. It's good vibe. It reminds me of compa, because like compa is like very energetic, but I feel like compa is more passionate. But dancehall banging, bro.
In the songs Kartel would drop, you could find lyrics where he would occasionally diss the members on the sides, but it was never anything too obvious. But eventually, these disses grew more and more, and it seemed as if Kartel had started targeting Mavado directly. Eventually, Mavado seemed to have had enough of the subliminal warfare, and as bright and brawling as he was,
crazy picture.
He released a 3-minute diss track aimed at Vybz Kartel, titled New Name for Informer, Mr. Palmer, and so the audience had no mistake as to who he was talking about. In the song, he accused Kartel of being an informant from the police, along with a number of other very disrespectful things. And of course, in true Kartel fashion, he wasted no time in responding with another song called Mafrado. The warfare of these two giants going at it, along with the fact that they each had superstars who were sworn enemies on their team, Bounty Killer with Mavado and Kartel with Beanie Man. The warfare got so big that it split the country into two factions. The Gully side, representing Mavado's place of origin, Cassava Peace, which is located on the side of a gully in Kingston, and Gaza, which refers to Vybz Kartel's home community in Portmore. The war between Gully and Gaza got so intense in the music that I kid you not, real violence in real life started to take place.
I don't doubt this for a second.
And you could see Gully and Gaza graffiti starting to pop up in random places.
Yo, Caribbeans like
supposed affiliation that
I take this shit to heart, man.
Seriously. It was to the point that several shootings started to take place, and even tourists were being attacked in certain places for playing Mavado's music in Gaza territory.
That's crazy.
Police even investigated several schools where vendors could be seen selling explicit material supporting either side, showing gory and blood-ridden images to the children of either artist holding the severed head of other artists and other disgusting depictions. The war between the sides.
Dude, this concert looks lit as hell, bro.
So bad that the literal government had to decide that they were going to get involved. And in March 2007, an official press conference was organized with many police present to have Vybz Kartel and Mavado publicly declare that their beef was over.
Bro, imagine your fucking beef. Imagine your beef being so generational that the government has to come in and literally shut it down, bro. Dude, that's real emotion right there. That's some crazy shit. I never heard of that shit before.
Now, this period of peace lasted for a while, but of course, I think we know damn well so that never did ever last. And shortly after, they were right back at it again, flinging diss track after diss track after diss track.
Damn!
So high that naturally, everybody in the dancehall community was expecting that this would be the main clash of that year's upcoming sting. And of course, they were absolutely right. In one of the most iconic nights of dancehall history, Adidja Palmer could be seen walking onto the stage fully clad in camouflage uniform, while Mavado was seen dressed as a police officer. The two clashed back and forth for what seemed like an eternity, until it eventually ended when Mavado walked off the stage. This is what led the majority of the Gaza fans to say that Kartel won the clash. However, of course, the Mavado fans were not having it, as they believed that Mavado was the true winner of the clash. And just like that, we were right back where we started, with Gully versus Gaza blazing with tensions hotter than were ever seen before.
That's some crazy shit, bro. It wasn't even them, it was the fans this time.
It was to nobody's surprise that the government decided it was time to officially end this once and for all. And so on December 8th, 2009, the Prime Minister himself, Bruce Golding, stepped in to intervene in this musical beef and summoned Vybz Kartel and Mavado in the same room for a public broadcast, where Many thought that there was a good chance they still didn't like each other, but of course, they did what they had to do for the camera. The government saw this beef as such a big issue that they implemented certain conditions to be followed just to ensure that the beef was sealed once and for all. And surprisingly, the two artists actually left all the previous controversy behind and surprisingly decided to move on with their lives.
Damn.
But did they really move on with their lives though? Or did they just become more preoccupied with more pressing matters? Because just a year later, Mavado's son was charged and convicted of murder, which led to a long string of events that ultimately ended with Mavado leaving Jamaica. And Kartel? Well, if him did think Mavado did have same legal situation, but he had no idea what was about to come his way.
I was mad Jamaican, bro. I'm not gonna lie. I had no idea what you just said.
After the massive popularity of the Gully Gaza War, Vybz Kartel was on such a legendary trajectory that he was now being seen as the new king of dancehall. He was dropping hit after hit after hit with songs like Ramping Shop debuting on the American Billboard Hot 100. His song Clarks was popular at the show to the point where most Jamaican students to this day still wear Clarks as part of their daily uniform. Go-Go Club, which went on to take over the music industry 15 years later, the song Virginity, Ben's Punani, Duanim Day, and many other songs that would be considered solidified pieces of Jamaican culture that basically any Jamaican to some extent grew up hearing or being affected by in some way. Vybz Kartel became so big that when he started bleaching his skin, starting to change from what the fans know as black cartel, which is pre-bleaching, to white cartel, he was so big that when he started bleaching, thousands and thousands of his fans started bleaching as well, just to follow his example. This man even released his own brand of cake soup just for people bleach, and it literally settled like wildfire. Now, of course, mainstream Jamaican media saw this almost Michael Jackson-like level of Jamaican popularity and decided that they needed to cash in. This was when Kartel was offered one of the biggest opportunities of his life, when he was offered his very own reality TV show called Teacher's Pet, where he would live in a house with 20 hot sexy girls as they would all try to compete for his affection. Only God knows how big this show would have gone, as many years later we would see other people like Blueface use this format to make millions of dollars. However, like I said, only God knows, because unfortunately for Vybz Kartel, on September 29, 2011, he was arrested by the local authorities for possession of cannabis. And just 5 days later, the network that was going to broadcast the show would announce that the show had been cancelled. Now, of course, this was very sad for Kartel, but if he knew what was about to come after this, he would have been begging God to let the loss of his show be the worst thing that came out of this event, because everything was about to get so much worse for Alicia Palmer than he, his fans, or even the entire country of Jamaica could have ever imagined.
Up and down like a yo-yo.
Vybz Kartel. On October 3, 2011, the police, seemingly out of nowhere, upgraded Kartel's charges from possession of weed all the way up to murder. This was because he was being accused of allegedly ending the life of a music producer from Portmore who went by the name of Barrington Burton. As Kartel awaited trial for these charges, he released a book called The Voice of the Jamaican Ghetto, telling his fans that Babylon Time incarcerated the messenger, but not the message. Fans held on to the hope that he may be innocent, but that became even harder when not long after, the government came right back around and hit him with another charge for the second-degree murder of Clive Lizard Williams. Kartel continued with the narrative that he was innocent and simply being set up by the Jamaican government because he was just too influential in the country and they were threatened by him. This kept fans active.
What do you guys think?
His release, and it only added to their fire when the Barrington Burton case verdict was reached and Kartel was deemed not guilty. Now, this was a solid victory for Kartel, but boy, was it far from what he needed to fix the situation as a whole, because the case with Lizard was looking a lot more complicated. You see, the reason the jury had Kartel as the man who killed Lizard wasn't just based on some loose speculation or some association to a similar gang. What connected Addy so close to the murder was when they initially arrested him just for the weed, they were able to seize his cell phone, and on this cell phone, they were surprised to find mountains and mountains of evidence to suggest that he was responsible for other crimes. And as the police discovered a series of crazily incriminating text messages and voice notes, it gave them strong reason to believe that he was involved. In fact, the most famous text out of this exchange that was even broadcasted to TVJ was, "Between me and you, I chop up the lizard boy, fine, and dash him with. As long as we are alive, them can never find me." Now, of course, if you see something as specific and insane as this on somebody's phone, you other things say them did have something to do with it. At least, however, during the trial, his lawyer and his team fought tooth and nail to say that the text messages were altered after the fact and therefore should not be admissible in court.
She also said the electronic file lifted from Kartel's phone was modified 3 hours after the device was seized by top police investigator.
However, in the end, it didn't even end up mattering, because once they heard the voice notes on Kartel's phone, it was basically over for him, and there was no coming back. This was his voice in 4K talking, and there was nothing anybody could say to deny AI didn't exist. Now, before I play what Kartel said, just want to say shoes are a code name or refer to guns, and lace is a code name or refer to bullets. Cool. In the first voice note, Kartel can be heard saying that Lizard had lost 2 of his shoes, and if he never get them back by 8 o'clock, something very, very bad was going to go down.
Somebody wants the blood clot Lizard and we. I will call my foot to tell me, say, them can't find the 2 blood clot, don't shoot them and give them that. So them not for them on horse. Try that all people like this up, I get a blood clot out of that 2 shoes and can't find the bum of that shoes, which is, and I come to them fuck them here, but I tell them to make sure we get my shoes by 8 o'clock, bad man. If bad boy, they want to say, I can't find some shoes in the dog. I see one of them, I begin to get them to get a bum of that shoes. I just take blood clot, man. That's it.
The voice notes were being sent as part of a conversation between Kartel and one of his associates, Problem Child. And this is what Problem Child had to say in response to Kartel's frustration.
I want to tell you, man, them do it already, you know. They make them get another chance to do that again, you know, that's the street, you know. Anytime after here, and the man again, I put tap on it, and bust off the money, or even do.
Somebody with Jamaican translate. What's going on here? I don't know all this.
The situation appeared to be that since Lizard had misplaced 2 of the guns, Kartel and Problem Child had suspected him of having sold them to an external party.
And the woman can tell her instantly say, "I the boy we're gonna come through here, move the shoes, to sell them, move shoes up to sell them in the dance."
And in order to maintain their street cred, they could never just sit back and allow something like this to slide.
Final, I'm gonna get to the comfortable night, the can reach him back in the night and morning, and flip up on the end, so I want to get wet up, not to get too comfortable, because I don't like the more style blood clot, man. Final, I'm going to sleep, I'm going to bed now, all the night, I'm supposed to have a thing, but not sleep till I'm until the thing I'm forward, man.
The exchange continues.
Dude, I love how
until
Jamaicans
Kartel
talk, man.
says this, and then goes off the grid for a while.
Mad man. I really bump up that thing, though. Big woman thing. Yeah, you got it.
After this, some time passes, and Problem Child links Kartel for an update on the situation.
Right, I want the program. Don't hear from yesterday, not so they have prayer on that one.
No, just to confirm, Lizard's mother did not actually end up being dashed away, and actually ended up becoming one of Kartel's lifelong enemies, begging and pleading for his death in exchange for what happened to her son.
Little bum your mind. Don't act like you wanna.
But after the story, the continue exchanging words and frustrations about not being able to find the misplaced shoes,
Bro, it's just gonna be
until
stuck in my
Kartel
head
says to
tomorrow.
Problem Child,
Yeah, but one thing, so I know it's not, man. Just listen.
and then radio silence. A few days later, Problem Child hits up Kartel while he's in the middle of getting a new tattoo and asks him about some very interesting news that he had just come across.
What problem, child? We have to do that tattoo style. I want you to see tattoo. I'm going to chuck you, man. I get the lizard and the new boy, and your browns. Two of them here to get that straight, so I'll be a man of time, let me hear, you know. So I'm not from night on, just come a while ago. Two man get that straight, and so me have the team say, yeah, I'll be able to know who I'm at, you see me. No, tell me exactly where you are, man. I'm going to know about. So who them say that's them way? Out to the blues, and I see them, and I say, yo, that shit lizard, and I say, blood clot. But I say, yes, I'm so sick, listen, get that shit from you.
On top of this, there were also messages from Lizard himself to his girlfriend, who was begging her to call the police because he feared that Kartel was about to kill him, and she said that he sounded like he was having a breakdown in fear of his life. And perhaps the most damning of all was the video footage that was leaked of Kartel and his associates preparing for what they were going to do to Lizard once he stepped into the house.
Bro, if this is real, how does he get out of something like this? Taking video and posting it? Bro, that's so crazy. How did he get out of this? Which one is Vybz though? How does this footage even get out though?
I'm not gonna lie, even from a completely unbiased perspective, I have to say this is insane. Even hardcore Gaza fans had their opinions changed by watching this. And I guess the jury did too, because after all of the evidence that came to light, and hearing Kartel talk about threatening to kill Lizard, why he was going to do it, the video footage, the text
Bro, he's
messages of
so
Lizard's
tall.
girlfriend,
Like
and
every time I see
everything
him,
that
I can't
came
get
up
over how
about
like
Lizard's body was
19 he is.
allegedly discarded afterwards, the jury decided to rule guilty. And on the 4th of April 2014, after the longest recorded trial in Jamaica's entire history, the king of dancehall himself, Adidja Palmer, was sentenced to life in prison. But of course,
Amen.
regardless of him being found guilty in court, in people's minds, that had nothing to do with the music. Many people naively thought that this would be the end of Kartel's career. But of course, being arguably the most influential man in Jamaica at the time, there was no way those prison guards were not bumping his music behind closed doors. I mean, everybody loved Vybz Kartel, and so it was no surprise that new music was still regularly being uploaded, and is to this day still regularly being uploaded to his YouTube channel. I mean, that just goes to show you there's really levels to this thing. And if you want to hear the full story of how Vybz Kartel got to that level in the first place, watch the part 1 of this video on your screen right now that shows the entire life story of Vybz Kartel and how he became the king of dancehall.
All right, man, that's gonna be it for this video right here. Like he said, this is the video that he's linking up right now is a video of how Vybz rose to his fame in the first place. So if you guys like this video enough, I'll definitely check it out for you guys. I have no issues doing that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I kind of wanted to bring something different, like I said in the beginning. Like I reacted to like one song, but I had to speed it up so much and cut out so much that I couldn't really react to it. So just keep sending me ideas for what you guys want me to react to, and obviously if I think it's good, I'll take a look at it. But yeah, man, that's so crazy to me that he's out of prison right now. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how a case like this gets overturned, because there was some pretty strong evidence, man. So I wonder what he had to pay his lawyer, and I wonder how the lawyer got him out. But yeah, man, it was very interesting to learn about all the details of the case and learn about the beef and stuff, because I had no idea about that. I mean, I was just a kid when he was popping. So hell yeah, man, I appreciate you guys tuning in, and as always, man, see you in the next video.